Have you ever brought your magic to Walt Disney World like, hey, we came to play? Did you tip your tiara to a Creole princess or get goofy officially? When we come through, it's true magic, because we came to play at Walt Disney World Resort.
It's one thing falling in love with a house, picturing yourself moving in and calling it home, and quite another navigating the world of price negotiating, mortgage lenders, and finding the budget that works best for you. An agent who's a Realtor can make understanding that world easier. Realtors have the expertise, access to proprietary data, and tools to help you get from imagining living somewhere to actually doing it. That's the kind of help we can provide. Because that's who we are. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors.
Hey, yo, this is Big Daddy Kane, and you're listening to another hot interview on The Library with Tim Einenkel on rapstation.com.
If you was born in New York City, I was born in New York City.
We in New York now.
New York. New York, find a town, Brownsville to Chinatown, inventors of the sound, dudes got bread on. New York takes a one-of-a-kind individual to prosper and get a residual. Remotely gross, ain't no city close. Mr. Swirl with us, visitors of the world with us. It's on your bucket list. Tourist native dwellers, transplants, getting the peace. Home of the geese, the finagle, the bagel, hard working, hard jerking. Me and my man, we had cons since we took it from the Indian.
He's one of the co-founding members of the legendary hip-hop group Brand Nubium, and he has worked with greats such as Diamond D, Lord Finesse, the Beatnuts, and the DITC crew. His latest album, under the Loyalty Digital Corp, is with producer Focus and is called Never Left. With that, I want to welcome Sadat X to the library with Tim Einenkel on rapstation.com.
What's good, everybody? T from here.
Cool, man. Thank you so much. So, of course, you start out the album with the record We in New York, kind of like a love letter to New York. Why at this moment in history did you want to remind people, New Yorkers and non-New Yorkers, what the city had to offer?
Well, you know, I mean, I'm from New York, man, and you know that this music started in New York, man, and we was always, you know, known for having styles and being the first and foremost in everything. And I just wanted to do something, man, to express my love and admiration for New York.
New York. It's the environment. God bless the fight, the 9/11, the 2 train, the 7. May they all rest in heaven. The Jews, daily news, Trump Tower, loud smoke sour, Muslims taking dower, Reverend Al, Wild Style, Coney Al, Cat Deli, take a broad to the telly, police commits Ray Kelly, Yellow Cabs, Arabs, the Giants, the Jets, Crippin' blood sets, who's coming back from the A like refugees, they left New York, please.
Never Left is a tribute to New York. How do you create a body of work like this that doesn't isolate your listeners? Like, you know, I mean, of course, New Yorkers will flock to this because it's about something they're familiar with. But how do you make it where someone in California or someone in the Midwest will be like, oh, this is a hot joint. I could do this. I could do this.
Well, I just try to, you know, keep an open mind, man, and you know, I just went into it, man. I didn't go into it trying to make it like strictly for New York. I just went into it making a music that I like. You understand what I'm saying? And people that I like. I did a joint with had King T on it. You know that I liked King T and I wanted him to get on something, so I found a beat and he got on it. You know what I mean? I didn't try to. You know, I didn't try to make it for one. I'm always first and foremost be New York, and I wanted that sound in there. But I just tried to vary it out, man. I made this album not listening to a bunch of records of other people, just basically focusing on going into the studio every day and doing it. You know, trying not to get too many influence on this. I just tried to, you know, keep it open.
When you made the game plan for making this album, when did you come up with that, and how long did the entire process take?
Well, the entire process took about 2 years because I was, you know, doing other projects off and on, and I was traveling off and on. But I just wanted to make a body of work, man, that I felt that people could play all the way through, man. And I wanted to have some topics and some songs, you know, as opposed to just having, you know, just throwing out rhymes. I wanted them to, you know, some rhymes have some stories, because that's how it used to be in rap. We used to tell stories and we used to teach, you know what I'm saying? I wanted something that could teach people something instead of, I know we all know how to party and this, that, but what about teaching? You know, this album is basically made for people, man, that pay bills, you know, that go through relationships and that have raised children. That's basically what it was for.
I want to talk about some of the records on the album a little later, but also, you know, this album Never Left is not just a tribute to New York, but it's kind of a celebration of your 25 years in this industry. You have stories about your first show. You have stories about Notorious B.I.G. You have stories about Nas, Tupac, Jay-Z. First off, why share these show stories? And then were there also stories that you wanted to include that just did not make the cut?
Oh man, well, in my past 25 years, man, I could probably put together 3 or 4 albums full of stories that I've encountered along the way, man. Those are just a couple that got out, man, and I like to put that out because I wanted this album to be personal, man. I think a lot of times, man, these albums are so mass-produced, man, and become such cookie cutter that, you know, you never feel one with the artist. I wanted, when you listen to this song, that you have come away with an understanding of Sadat. You understand? Something you can look into my personal soul and into the personal. You know, I wanted you to get personal with this, man, and make it, after you listen to this, make you feel like you know a little bit something about Sadat that you may have not known before you listen to the album.
Pac, man, the Pac that I knew was like fun-loving Pac, ready to roll. Like, we get to the hotel, Pac speed up, you know what I'm saying? He in the car, ain't got no tags or nothing, no plates or nothing. He like, yo, y'all out here, what y'all need? I'm like, yo, we need some smoke. He like, smoke? He go in the back and come out with a big bag. And he give us some smoke. He like, what else y'all need? Y'all need any hammers or something? I'm like, nah, he got the hammers in the car and everything, you know? And then when I would see Pac, like I seen him at Diamond's crib one time, and we really sat and actually had a long talk for a minute. And he was like, nah, it ain't nothing about New York. You know what I'm saying? It's just certain people or whatever I don't like, you know? Because we was cool. I was at Diamond's crib with Pac. You know what I'm saying? We was talking about how this was going down, man. So the Pac I knew, man, was good, man. I just hate to see, you know, what happened towards the end, man. Like, he lost his life, man, and I was a good dude.
As mentioned, you know, you talk about Biggie, you talk about Tupac. I was wondering, your thoughts. If they weren't killed, do you think commercial rap today would be any different than any different today? And how big was their influence in the art? And what did you think we lose upon their death?
I think it would have been as big as it was. I mean, you know, the times change, but I don't know, man. That remains to be seen, man, and that's kind of hard to speculate on because they're really not here. But you know, I feel maybe, you know, it would have been, you know, Biggie was definitely keeping the East Point on coast with the lyrics. And I think we would have stayed a little more familiar with our own style. As far as Pac, you know, I knew Pac too, man. I don't know, man. That's a hard question, man. I think it would, you know, rap would have still been at the magnitude it is today because I know that, you know, the times changed, the technology changed, and I don't think they would have stopped this technology from changing in any way or form. No.
Oh, man, the session with Big, man, was, like, incredible, man. Like I'm just really blessed to have known Big, man. Like, to see, like, all right, I got a call, because, you know, Puff was from the Vernon. And, you know, I known Puff coming up. You know, I always been cool with Puff, always had a good rapport. And called me, he was like, yo, you know, my artist coming out big. I think Big had a party and this all up to that point. And, you know, we get to the studio, you know, he smoke, I smoke, so I see there's a box of Phillies there, so I'm like, yeah, I'm in the right location right here. So we smoking, we drinking, we having a good time. They playing the beat, you know, Finesse had did the beat. I'm writing my joint down, I just see Big standing there, and he's like mumbling something to himself. Then he just going to the booth and knocked this out. I'm like, damn, son, ain't writing nothing down. So I'm like, oh man, I gotta have something in my head, and I gotta make something. So I went to the booth and did that, man, and we was cool. We was cool, man. Big was a good dude, man. I came out to Brooklyn a couple of times and stuff. That's my memories of Big, man. Good memories.
I want to go into some of the tracks on Never Left. One track is which I really like is "Put It On Me" featuring Natchy Bless, Chi Ali, and Focus. It's a very there's a great dancehall vibe to it, which is kind of unlike any of the other tracks on the album. Why spit over a dancehall beat?
Well, it was something that I really never did before, You know, I never really rhymed over a beat like that one before. And, you know, being that I'm living in Brooklyn now, that's the sound that's coming out of a lot of places in Brooklyn. You know what I mean? Brooklyn has a heavy West Indian population, and I'm hearing that music daily. And, you know, just trying something different.
Yeah, I ran through ghetto birds, hit them with the moon words. That's what they want to hear. Let them hear it. But this chick, she don't go near it. Yo, I'd be playing myself. She carry herself with class. How she carry all that? Is the question. Her college degree.
Another record on it, Live and You Learn, featuring Maverick. It kind of reflects on the situation leading up to going to prison, then in prison, then post-prison, and the strain it had on your personal relationships. How did your time in prison impact you as an artist?
My time in jail, man, basically, you know, that didn't really shape me as far as the rhyming too much. I didn't want to, you know, dwell on too much jail stuff and putting that into rhymes, because I think that's already been done, and that story is a dying story. I just wanted to hurry up and get out, man, so I can get back to doing what I was doing.
Christmas Eve on the outside. A month ago I had a run-in. Dudes knew I was gunning. Somebody made that call to them boys. They came glaring. Description what I'm wearing. And then they went for the gun. I didn't have a chance to run. They took me downtown fast. You don't even have to ask. I don't snitch. The judge was she denied my bail. Help me to
we talked about how this album is a tribute to your 25-year career. Being that the critique of hip-hop is that it's a young person genre, when did you know, or how did you know that the above 30-year-old could continue making music for fans?
Well, I mean, the thing is, I knew that it was a place for it because the people that I was with was all of my age, and they all still wanted to hear music. So I know as long as they wanted to hear it, it was a demographic out there that did want to hear it, you know. I think it's viewed as a young people's thing because, you know, rap is not really too old yet when you consider other genres of music. I mean, rap, what are they putting the time limit on it? About 50 years, not 40 years or whatever. When you have certain, like, operas, like from Mozart and Chopin at like 200, 300 years old, I think rap was still finding itself. And I think that level of they talking about how it's a young people's game is starting to fade a little bit, because some of them young people that was talking about it was a young people's game 10 years ago, 15 years ago, is now the older people too. You know what I'm saying? So I think it is finding new lanes and finding new chambers. You know, they say it's a young person's game or whatever. And, you know, rap is basically probably one of the only forms of music that doesn't really, you know, give the full respect to the elders. But, you know, then again, the elders got to make that music to warrant respect. And I think that as the elders continue to make good music, you know, it'll be a chamber for that, and you'll gain new fans along the way. And if not, you just keep your fan base. And I just wanted to show people that it's still a way to survive. You know, I'm a survivor. You know, I know that it might not be how it was when the first album came out, but I know enough within myself and within this game to make some sort of impact and last in my lane.
Do you think today's MC that's coming out, are they set up just the way it's just because rap is very popular and it's kind of people that are coming up are not there. The critique is that they're not there about about the culture. They're kind of there like, this is the popular music, I'm going to make this and hopefully make a lot of money off of it. Do you think today's MC is set up for a long career, or do you think they're more of the one-hit wonders?
Well, I think the way that they're doing, especially with a lot of these younger kids, man, is they're setting it up for the one-hit wonder. You know, like you see, you know, somebody like Bobby Shmurda, unfortunately, that's locked up now, man, that probably he'll be expendable to Epic after a while. You know what I mean? The way they got it set up now, man, is like you fit the suit for this year, and you know, somebody fits the suit next year. You know, back then artists were groomed. You know what I'm saying? You had A&Rs. You don't really have A&R no more, artists in repertoire. That was the area that taught artists about doing, you know, interviews, about, you know, appearance, about handling yourself professionally. Like, a lot of that is lost now, man, and those was important steps upon molding MC, upon you know, having a stage show to last you, to make you last these years. I tell the kids all the time, man, you're going to get, if you stay in this game long enough, you should get 15 minutes of fame. It's basically what you do after is to keep your name out there. You know, so I definitely feel, man, that, you know, that it's not made up like that. I tell these kids, a lot of these kids, I'm glad I came out when I came out, because I would hate to have to come out now. because it's so watered down, man, and so, you know, but, and I guess to them it's not watered down, but, you know, it's too many now. Like, a lot of steps have been missed, man. You don't have the development time, the apprenticeship time that we used to have, that, you know, worked your craft. You know, everybody want to come in right now and get it, and that's why the quality of the music has gone down.
I think records that actually on the album that really highlight what you just mentioned, but also highlight your independence as an artist are the records "I Know This Game" and "Ain't Nothing Funny" featuring Craig G and Sky Zoo. What is it about today's promoters and labels, executives, that it seems like they just can't be trusted? And has this always been the case from like when you started out, or is this really just a new thing?
Well, I mean, it's always been cases of shystiness, man, involved in rap, you know, but it's just apparent much now, because now, see, back then everybody couldn't be involved in rap, man. You couldn't just be a promoter and have a show. You had to have a track record behind you. People had to know you for doing this. You know what I mean? You couldn't just jump out and all of a sudden now you doing shows, or now you rhyming and this and that. It was steps that you went through, you know, and I put that in the record. I know this game. If there's one thing about this, I do know this game. I know the inner workings of it, and I put it in the song. You know, I mean, I knew many people that worked at these labels. Sony shut down, and a lot of people lost their jobs. You know, now people that was involved with rap have went to rock and other forms, man, because, you know, it's just not there no more. That vehicle is slowed down.
Some took it to the streets with the jacks, wound up in Clinton Max. Some fell because they didn't pay tax. Made songs that was glossy as shellac. Took an E-pill and whack. The guard here, sharp as the tack. From the days of backpacks, white people and blacks. Outlast a lot of acts, New York and North Cats. You stealing from sacks, reeling from attacks. Nothing about you attracts. Got a suit, but old slacks.
Your ring on the top was short like leprechauns. Your ring on the top was short like leprechauns.
Do you think a key to a long career for artists, I mean hip-hop artists today especially, is that they just shouldn't be a part of a label?
Well, I wouldn't say that, man. I would just say the key, man, if you want to last a long time, is probably originality. I mean, you might get over once or twice sounding like the same person on the record or whatever, but if you want to stand this test of time, it has to be something that makes you different. It has to be something that separates you from the rest of the pack. Whether it's your look, your words, how you project them, how you put it out there, like, you got to have some type of factor to have a lasting factor in this game, because like they're recycling them at an alarming rate right now.
Another great track on the album, I think, is "On Fire" featuring Cormega and Linnell Tyler. On this show, Cormega talked about how a lot of rap, he feels a lot of rap content is pushed out by the powers that be to help contribute to the rise of the prison system. And I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on this. I mean, do you think there's a conscious effort to push out negative lyrics out to the masses with hopes that people listening to them will turn to crime, or do you think there's something else behind the push of negative lyrics?
Well, I mean, I think that they tend to push out stuff that they can control, that they can put in a box. You know what I'm saying? If everybody's thinking about crime and doing this and that, they know what that element is. They can control that. But the 2 or 3, once people start getting together and start putting out records that they want to learn and want it to be peaceful and don't want war, that's when it becomes a problem, you know. So I do think that they do sort of push those type of songs out sometimes with the negative image and sexual connotation. You know, that's stuff that they can see and they can put within a box. But when we start talking about refining ourselves and coming into the knowledge of ourselves, sometimes that's scary and they don't understand that. So definitely, yes, I would say that.
Spitting lyrics sicker than Olympic sixes with intentions to get it. I'm not content, just existing isn't living. No one under the sun could ever tell me different. Success is blinded, so I'm guided by my inner vision. I'm pen prolific, the fiery death, but my lines are so furious, the mic should repent. I don't regret the fact I'm no longer selling crack. Shows where my head is at, you'll never get
another track that I think really is a great track to end the album with, obviously brings everything full circle, is Never Left, featuring Tony Mays. It talks about people who leave New York, even if they're when there's obstacles in their career, they decide to leave. But then there's talks about people who, like you, who never left New York because even if there were obstacles. Do you think there was a point when New York wasn't bringing it as much as the rest as the rest of the country in hip hop? If so, why do you think that was the case?
Yeah, well, it was a time, man. I think that, when New York, man, like, at one point, I think, New York, we've always, as far as rap, been wordsmiths and had different styles. And I think the rest of the country, at some point, couldn't really understand us. And if you listen and look at the rest of the country to how people actually talk, you have people in Florida that sound similar to people in New Orleans, who may sound similar to people in Texas, who may sound similar to people in LA. And I think that those groups and the Midwest groups got together, and they were like, well, if we can't be New York, we can be what we be. And, they made records that sounded similar to how they were thinking. And, we kind of advanced ourselves out at one point. And then, being that we did that, we started jumping on the bandwagon. We started having New York artists that originally sounded New York to start sounding like they were from down south. We started making a lot of so-called trap records and these type of records that was foreign into ourselves. That's why I think it sounded corny coming from a lot of people from New York, and it was recognized, and we did take a fall for a minute.
How do you think we got that back?
Well, I think it's not completely back. It's not completely back yet, no. But I think that, more artists are coming out, younger artists are coming out from New York that are actually, reaching back to some of the old school vets that are receptive. And I use that word receptive because a lot of the veterans don't seem to be receptive. I think in order for us to get back, we need to connect with the youth, and the youth have to connect with us, but it has to be some sort of medium. It can't be, well, since I've been in the game 25 years, you got to listen to what I'm saying as the all end and all hearing. And as a youngster, you got to be able to come up and take some of the wisdom that I'm giving you. You got to meet both ways. I think some of the young artists like Joey Badass, a couple of those artists, are reaching back, are going back to the roots of it, going back to the lyrics of it, going back to traditional New York beats. And I think they're bringing that sound back.
Never luck, always God will bless those who never quit and those who never left. Understand, remember when a lot of dudes from New York was running down south and all of a sudden sounding like they was from down south with funny accents and saying words that these dudes were saying? Now,
I think a lot of it is you get a lot of older artists, and even people who listen who are older, they we like to romanticize the past, and not believe that like the things that kids talk about today was never talked about back in the day. So it's interesting it's interesting with your album. You're talking to everyone. You're talking to the younger generation as well as the older generation, and you're not being preachy about it, which I think is the critique by the younger generation, the older generation. I think is that they feel like they're just getting talked at as opposed to talked to.
Yeah, and that's true a lot of times, man. A lot of the older artists, man, they're berating the young kids. They're telling them, what they need to be doing. Well, this is the young kids' time too, man. This is their time. They're creating their records, which they will look back as classics to them. Who's to say that the records that they're not making are not going to be classics to some of them, some of these records? So time changes, man. That's one thing. You can't stop time, man. And the minute you think you can stop time, man, is when you and that comes with always growing and being receptive to things, man. You can't never get too stuck in your ways, man. You can never stop learning. You learn until you die. So that's one thing that I've stressed.
I want to switch away from the album really quickly and just talk about. I read that in your house growing up, you heard artists such as James Brown and Marvin Gaye, and then you were listening to early hip hop artists such as African Bambaataa and the Jazzy Five, Cold Crush Brothers, Funky 4+1. How did these artists shape the early part of your career?
Well, see, that was a magical time in hip hop, especially back when I was listening to groups like the Cold Crush and Jazzy Five, because a lot of times, you didn't get to see them that much, like so you would have these these cassette tapes that they were on, and those tapes were like gold, man. And you would study those tapes, man, and you would know those rhymes, and in your mind you would just imagine seeing them. I imagined seeing the Cold Crush from their rhymes. I had them already picked out in my mind how they would look in their rhymes. And like when I got to see them, man, it was such a pleasure, man, to actually see them and it coincide with what I thought. And it made them like life. It made them like giant size characters to me, man. It was like, they was that, and that's what really, really, man, entrapped me. Like they were so precise with the rhymes and then the routines, because MC meant master of ceremony, so they were actually putting on a show when they came to these places. They'd be on stage for 1 and 2 hours doing different routines and doing shows, man, and that's what I miss.
All right. I also one thing I really like is that you're not just the MC, but you're also a teacher in the sense that you teach 6th grade and you teach special education. How has your lyrics and style, etc., changed since you started teaching? And do your students know about Sadat X, the MC, or do you try to keep that separate?
Well, I haven't taught in a number of years now, so, I haven't taught, but I still, have a good rapport with the youth. And I think sometimes, depending on what I'm talking about, I'll try to tone certain things down, just so I can, reach the kids. But basically, I feel that my style is basically the same. I think maybe I've gotten a little more worldly, being that I have had an opportunity to travel and meet different people and experience different cultures. And I like to put that in the rhymes, and I like to let people feel like, hey, you can be an average dude from the hood, but you can be smart. Like it's something about this generation of rap, man, where I feel like at some point it got cool to be not smart. You know what I mean? Like a lot of these artists, when I hear them, man, like some of the stuff they say, okay, it's catchy and it's for the moment, but I'm not hearing any other records that you do that teach that actually lets me believe that, you have some sort of smartness about you. When I was coming up, I wanted to learn about everything, rap, reading, all types of a racist reader. I read everything. I wanted to know about everything. So when I put that into my rhymes, I wasn't just a rapper, but I was somebody that was rapping good and that was smart. I sounded smart. I knew right facts. I knew about different places. In these songs, I don't hear about kids talking about different places or cultures or how to eat to live or how to survive. And so, I hear a lot of party rhymes and what you're going to do to a girl and what you're going to do to this person and cocaine and this and that, which is not really a believable thing in today's society.
That's what I was wondering. Like, you're obviously you're gifted enough. You're really gifted in terms of lyricism that you could have done this easily. You could have followed the commercial formula, right? How did you stop yourself from doing that?
Well, a lot of times when I'm recording, I just have to distance myself, man. Like sometimes when I'm recording, I'm only listening to what I'm recording. You know what I mean? At the time, I'm not really listening too much of a lot of other music, and then I try to put myself outside of myself when I'm writing these rhymes. And if I'm writing something that sounds crazy, I have to put myself into the fan's body and be like, if I'm looking at me saying this, what am I saying about Sadat? Is that going to be something that's going to be believable coming from a 45-year-old man? Me talking about this, talking about something that a 21-year-old, how is that going to look? Is that going to, come off as being official? Is it going to come off as a reach, as a try? Because that's the last thing I wanted to do is has an album that come out like me teaching like we're the adults. We're supposed to teach, not the kids teach the adults. You know what I mean? So I wanted to have something on that angle.
I was speaking to Sadat X, his new album, Never Left. Sadat, as we mentioned earlier in the interview, this album is a tribute to New York. I'm a New Yorker myself. I grew up in Washington Heights. I always wondered one thing in New York that you could not live without. What would that be?
Oh, man. Probably just the subway, man. Because, see, for me, man, sometimes I like to ride the subway when I'm writing a song. I'll just sit there and maybe take the A train uptown and back, just so I can be around the people. And you know, I'm a people person, man. So I need to see people and see what they're looking like and see what's going on. And I can tell off on the train if the weather's good and it's a good day. If it's raining, it's a bad day. And I see that in people, and I feel it. So the subway, man, it takes me, man. Like a lot of times, like I said, I'll just sit on the subway and look at people for an hour and come up with something to write about.
And also, this album is obviously a tribute to your 25-year career. So far in your career, I'm sure you have many of them, but do you have a favorite moment, and do you have a favorite lyric that you kind of constantly, you wrote it, you know, you go back to and like, wow, I can't believe I came up with that type of lyric?
Well, it's a whole bunch of different things, man. Like, one thing that stands out to me is when we did the 199 video with Common. You know, that was probably one of the coldest days ever in New York. You know, and I just remember we was outside doing it, trying to get it right. You know, everybody believed in the song, no matter how cold it was that day. And we just stuck it out. We damn near froze to death, but we stuck it out. You know, just like I said, echoing on the Biggie stuff. I remember we used to go to downtown to Chung King studio and just seeing different groups coming in there, or Tribe coming, or De La Soul going to D&D studio and seeing Diamond and everybody record. Sometimes just being the fly on the wall, you know, just being in different sessions and maybe if it, not even my session, but watching how a Premier put a beat together, or how Showbiz will put a beat, or Finesse on one of those guys, Large Professor, actually watching them, Pete Rock, getting a chance to actually seeing them create beats live, man. That's been a great thing.
What record on Never Left do you think currently defines where you're at in your career right now?
Basically, I would say I know this game, man. You know, like I know what it is. I know this game. I know when I'm doing shows, when promoters start acting one way or they say one thing, I'm knowing immediately what that means. You know what I'm saying? I'm knowing about different venues. I know I can basically tell if I get to a spot how it's going to be. I know how to check the acoustics of the room. You know, these are things that I've acquired along this journey, man. So I would have to say I know this game.
So what's next? 25 years? You've already got 25 years. What's next after this?
Well, I'm going to keep on going, man. I mean, you know, I got about another 2 albums ready. I got an album with Diamond D that's ready. And I also got an album I did with Elder Sensei that should be coming soon. And just, man, I hope to continue touring. You know, I'm getting ready to probably do a Europe spring run. It's always, you know, good to go through like these different places. And it's funny, man, because you go to these places so many times, sometimes that you meet people there that every time you go there, you see them and you have relationships with these people for 15, 20 years. And you know, they become good friends as if they lived here, you know. So I'm looking forward to getting back on the road.
The great Sadat X new album is Never Left. Thank you so much, Sadat, for joining me in the library with Tim Einenkel on rapstation.com.
No doubt. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me.
I know the game from the inside. First person, actual facts. I got actual plaques. See the disappearance now of the wax. Some fell through the cracks. The labor of love broke their backs. Some work ethics was lax. Couldn't afford the hot tracks. Some bubbled and they blew through their stacks. Some took it to the streets with the jacks. Wound up in Clinton Max. Some fell because they didn't pay tax. Made songs that was glossy as shellac. Took an E-pill and whack. The guard here, sharp as the tack. From the days of backpacks, white people and blacks. Outlast a lot of acts, New York to North Cats. You stealing from sacks, reeling from attacks. Nothing about you attracts, got a suit but old slacks.
Your rain on the top was short like leprechauns. Your rain on the top was short like leprechauns. Your rain on the top was short like leprechauns. Your rain on the top was short like leprechauns.
Promoters send half in a plane ticket. Get to their city and they want you to kick it. I'm answering anything alright. We gon' be good tonight. If they say they need a holler, they gon' up the dollar. The venue, the menu, problems at the door. Blame it on the law. They did this before. $50 tickets and a $20 space in a hotel room. They pleading their case. This ain't never happened. We did shows with rapping. 2 or 3 promoters. Who's the captain? Yo, I take care, y'all. I swear in a week. You want some more Henny? You want that freak? Nah, mother. I want all my bread. I'll take another drink, but I'm good on the head. And let me hold a watch in the chain in instead. I got bills, you trying to keep me in the red.
Your ring on the top was short like leprechaun. Your ring on the top was short like leprechaun. Your ring on the top was short like leprechaun.
A label, you do better working for cable. Labels is dead, the grind is instead. I know some A&Rs that now watch cars. They decided rap stars when they was in power. Sony fired everybody sour. Now rap moguls got to blend with the locals. What was that flat you said about my vocals? A former label head live right on my block. You still rock with hip hop? Nah, straight rock. No label is able to stop me. Push their head right down where my feet. The independent grind is mine, and that's fine. Remember saying the label was a hell of a line? Now they left behind like the dinosaurs. They shit on it. First week sales and first week figures. It didn't add up. They was pulling them triggers. Yo, this is like it's gonna break. Let's pull out this shit now and say
your ring on the top was short like leprechaun. Your ring on the top was short like leprechaun. Your ring on the top was short like leprechaun. Your ring on the top was short like leprechaun.
Is this house a good price compared to others in the area? Are prices going up or down? If I don't make an offer right this very moment, will I miss my chance? These are just some of the questions a home buyer might ask. And these are the sorts of questions an agent who is a realtor can help answer. Because realtors have the expertise, data, and access to specialty training to help you navigate the process of buying a home. They provide support, guidance, and have your back every step of the way. That's what realtors do, because that's who we are. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors.
Rack your look for spring at Nordstrom Rack and save up to 60% on brands you love. Rag & Bone, Vince, Marc Jacobs, Adidas, Joe's, and more. Great brands, great prices every day at Nordstrom Rack. Score new dresses, denim, sandals, designer bags, and sunglasses, plus updates for the family and home. Get your spring on for less, up to 60% less, today at your Nordstrom Rack store. What will you find?